How is up, everybody? It's your boy, Choosi, back in the clack with another Extreme Stream! Hey, listen, man. You know, one of the most frequent questions I get asked is, Choopy, I feel like you're one of the best gamers. Why are you so good, and how do you stay ahead of the curve? Well, fam, the answer to that question is probably not what you'd expect. Actually, it's probably exactly what you'd expect, isn't it? Because you clicked on the video in the first place. What am I doing? Why is this such a stupid intro? One-handed controllers! I first discovered the potential of the one-handed control scheme while playing an indie title known as Earthbound, which actually maps a bunch of key commands to the left trigger button, allowing you to play through the whole game single-handed. Sure, you couldn't equip weapons, heal outside of battle, or cancel commands, but those are all technically optional, and a real gamer guy like me doesn't need options. The sequel, Earthbound 2, followed suit when it was released on the Game Gear Advance in 1997. Finally, the joy of playing Mono Mandible was now possible on the go. And, well, let's just say that the grip of my left hand finally caught up with that of my right. 40 years later, and I'm still binging out to anything that can be played one-handed. Fire Emblem in particular lends itself very well to a one-handed control scheme, barring you've got the right equipment. So today we're going to look at a few controllers in the one-handed market and see if they're a good concept or a great catastrophe. Now, my criteria for grading each controller is based on two facets. 1. Accessibility. How easy is it to come by these controllers and get your grubby mitts on one? Sorry, mitts. Mitt. Singular. Mitt. And 2. Ergonomics. How good does it feel to play with these things?
Wait, hold on one cotton-picking, waffle-dicking second.
You're probably yelling at your monitor right now.
I don't need a one-handed controller to play Fire Emblem. What do I look like, Lieutenant Dan? What is it you can do with a single-handed controller that you can't do with a normal one?
Well, I'm very glad you asked that question, because playing with a one-handed controller actually enables you to... What is that sound? Dad? Wait a second, Dad never comes home. What is that sound?
Let's go!
Choosi likes pussy. Choosi likes dogs. Choosi likes using one-handed control. But Choosi, why? Shut the fuck up, bitch!
Now let me hit you with the list.
You can pour some drink and you can squeeze a lime. You can Google it and game at the same damn time. You can whip out your staff, heel cone with the molder. Flip your dad the bird. One-handed controller. One-handed controller. Don't touch my family! One-handed controller. You can watch a little, make a little, take a little stream. You can balance all your books, so balance your whole team. Hold hands with your girl if you're bad, she can scold you. Eat a Wendy's Dave double. One-handed controllers.
The Wiimote! Probably the most widely available controller on this list. If you don't already have one lying around, go down to your local retirement home and haggle with whomever's in the rec room. I got mine for a fistful of shiny string and a few Werther's Originals. And even if you can't get a hold of anything like that, the sweet scent of youth should be enough to coax your way into any aged's good graces. The Wiimote is probably one of my favorite controllers of all time, and in its heyday, quite a few stellar RPGs for the Wii gave you the option to play holding the controller one-handed, or as they put it in the menu, vertically. Most notably for me here is Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn. I love this game, and playing this game one-handed was a joy. This controller feels so natural to hold. It's a great way to experience your favorite RPG. However, it does have some pretty big faults that can't be ignored. My biggest problem with using the Wiimote vertically is too many buttons are regulated to one thumb. A and B are in full effect and work really well as confirm and cancel, but having the A button and the directional pad right next to each other can admittedly be cumbersome. You can perform this rocker technique, but it still doesn't come close to the breadth of using one finger to move and another to confirm. Plus and minus are surprisingly easy to access, but 1 and 2 might as well have their own zip code. Most of the time I found myself biting the bullet and just using my goddamn other hand, which sucks because I really needed that hand to violently throw random objects when the game makes me use Meg. Not including the D-pad, there are only 6 buttons at your disposal here, as opposed to the usual 10, and for a lot of gamers, that just doesn't cut it. Even Radiant Dawn strips you of the option to change camera angles because of it. All of these gripes aside, I've played through numerous games with this puppy, and have had an overall enjoyable time. It pairs so easily with Macs and PCs, not Android Jelly Bean 4.2 for some reason, you fucking bastards. I think the aspect that's really holding this controller back is that its design was not made around the physical buttons alone, but the interaction in tandem with the motion controls. And because I feel like I'm one of the best gamers, I don't use motion controls, so that's a fail from me. Yeah, if we're gonna play one-handed without any of the drawbacks of actually using only one hand, we're gonna have to get a little bit, specialized.
The ASCII Stick Super L5.
Now, right off the muscle, this is one of the most badass-looking controllers of all time. There's really no arguing that. It's an uncommon peripheral, so it's gonna run you between $30 to $45 used on eBay. Now, this thing is notable for making me feel like a very cool guy when holding it. The unique rotating clock face design allows for an experience tailored to the player's comfort and preference. The 4 face buttons are allocated to the back and rest below your pointer and middle finger independently, which is nice because you're not going to be dedicating all your inputs to just one finger. They may be uniform in size, but each button is given a distinct texture and can easily be distinguished by touch alone. These auto-fire switches, while admittedly completely useless, look pretty bitchin', and it feels great just to hold this thing in your hand, like you're grasping a space pebble. A very sexy space pebble. Unfortunately, that's where the praise ends. No matter how I hold this thing when I'm actually playing a game, I just don't feel like I have a grip on it. Not mentally, but physically. Am I not holding it right? No, this is how it's meant to be held. Look at this. Yeah, as you can probably tell, I wanted to love this thing, guys. But what I soberly realized is when pushing the A, B, X, Y buttons is that you have nothing but your thumb to brace against the force of your input. And that's a problem because the thumb is already working overtime managing the directional pad. The result is a controller that feels like it's gonna fall out of your hands at the slightest pleasant breeze. However, this doesn't even compare to my biggest gripe, the asymmetrical button design. The experience you have with your left hand is going to be completely different than that of your right. As you can see, in my left hand, my fingers rest fairly nicely over the A and B buttons, the buttons you're going to be pushing 95% of the time. Whereas in my right hand, I have to go full on Mr. Krabs, which really makes the whole grip problem I addressed earlier exponentially worse. Sorry, Stick Super L5. I guess the 5 L's stand for fail! Man, 2 fails in a row. I guess the perfect one-handed controller doesn't exist.
Starts to strike back.
The ASCII Grip.
Released alongside the horse racing simulator Derby Stallion 2, this was ASCII's second foray into the world of everything one-handed. Now, there have been subsequent releases of the grip on multiple platforms, including the Sega Uranus and PS Double. We're going to be focusing on the PS1 version here, and that's mostly because it's currently the easiest iteration to purchase by far. At the time of releasing this video, if you go on eBay right now, you will be able to purchase one of these unopened in-box with shipping for, and I'm not making this up, $10. But is it worth your Hamilton? Well, let's take a look. First thing I'm going to say is the previous asymmetrical problem with the L5 is gone here. The experience in your left hand is going to be exactly the same as in your right, and that's mostly due to the triangle and square buttons being mirrored on both sides of the D-pad. The D-pad itself feels freaking amazing, firm response, and a curvature that actually cradles your thumb while resting upon it. Every button on the face is easy to access, only the start and select require a tiny bit of choking up to reach, which is not a deal breaker by any means. The 2 buttons on the back is where the hatter matters, baby. And as I said with the L5, this is 95% of your input. And this thing nails it. Confirm is a big old rectangle that lies directly under where your pointer finger would naturally rest. And cancel is differentiated not only by its size, but also its placement being slightly lower than your natural resting position. But it can still be easily accessed with a subtle rocker tech. The palm of your hand is comfortably reinforced by the butt of this controller, and a very nice feeling silicone rubbery grip is molded right under the middle and ring fingers, ensuring that every button press has resistance underneath it. Now, there is one personal gripe I have about this controller, and that's its size. I have smaller hands, huge feet though, and this thing is a little bit more bulky than I would like it to be. I played through Tearing Saga, God Bless Kaga, with this thing, and I found myself swapping hands often just because one would get fatigued over time. So if you do have smaller hands like myself, by the way, I have huge feet, just to remind you guys, enormous feet, I recommend using the Sufami version of the ASCII grip. It is a little bit smaller than the PS1 version, doesn't have the rubberized grip, 2 less buttons, and it has a Nintendo model D-pad right there. I love it. It feels so good in my hands. It's my perfect controller. I'll play it with every Fire Emblem I get my hands on. Which is why it gets my coveted Choosi. Choosie's choice. So let me know in the comments if you love me, or I guess if you like one-handed controllers or some bullshit like that, I don't know. I'd like to thank y'all for joining me on another quest to discover the mysteries of the emblem. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, y'all, stay frothy.